The war between Israel and Iran is no longer a hypothetical. It's happening now. Missiles, drones, airstrikes, and rising casualties are shaking the Middle East to its core. So the question is, has the United States lost its grip on the region? Has Israel stepped in to fill that vacuum? And what are the consequences? In this video, we break down the power shift, key moments in the ongoing Israel-Iran war, the civilian toll, and what this means for the future of the Middle East. The Middle East is erupting, and America is no longer in the driver's seat, as Israel asserts full air supremacy over Tehran, carrying out deep strikes with F-35s and precision drones. Iran reels from targeted blows to its military infrastructure and nuclear sites. The U.S., once the region's ultimate power broker, now plays a reactive role, providing support but lacking control. Iran's supreme leader has defiantly rejected all calls for de-escalation, while Israeli operations push forward with or without Washington's approval. Civilian casualties are rising, regional tensions are at a boiling point, and the old rules of U.S. deterrence no longer apply. Let's break down how the battlefield is reshaping geopolitics and why American influence may never fully return. U.S. influence in the Middle East, then and now. For decades, the United States dominated the Middle East through military might, diplomacy, and control of energy corridors. From shock and awe in Iraq to airstrikes in Syria, Washington set the tone. But today, that dominance is crumbling. Under the America First doctrine, successive administrations have cut troop levels, abandoned long-term commitments, and leaned heavily on unreliable allies. The result? A dangerous vacuum. Russia now runs the show in Syria, flying missions from its revived airbase in Latakia. China, too, is embedding itself, inking billion-dollar energy and infrastructure deals from Iran to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Iran is no longer hiding behind proxies. It's launching direct attacks, flexing with missiles and drones. Gulf states, once Washington's loyal partners, are signing peace deals with Israel and hedging with Beijing. Since 2014, U.S. troop presence in Iraq and Syria has plunged by more than 90%, leaving the battlefield open for others to claim. Israel on the offensive, filling the void. In June 2025, the world witnessed a dramatic shift in Middle Eastern power dynamics. With U.S. influence in decline, Israel stepped out of America's shadow and launched Operation Rising Lion.
2 weeks ago, the State of Israel launched Operation Rising Lion in Iran in order to remove an existential threat against the State of Israel.
A coordinated, high-intensity air offensive deep inside Iranian territory. Mossad operatives first paved the way, sabotaging key missile systems with stealth drones. Hours later, over 50 Israeli Air Force jets blitzed Iran's nuclear and missile infrastructure, targeting more than 100 value sites across the country, including centrifuge facilities and underground bunkers. The result were devastating for Tehran. Iran's most advanced air defense systems, personally overseen by Supreme Leader Khamenei, were decimated. Israel didn't just survive Iranian threats, it completely flipped the script. For the first time in decades, it's no longer Washington leading preemptive strikes or establishing red lines. Israel now dominates Iranian airspace and dictates the tempo of conflict. This isn't defense, it's strategic offense. By filling the void left by a disengaged America, Israel has effectively assumed the role of regional enforcer. The message is clear: deterrence no longer wears a U.S. flag. In this new phase, Tel Aviv isn't waiting for permission. It's rewriting the playbook, one precision strike at a time. Israel-Iran direct conflict, a new war. The Israel-Iran conflict has now erupted into a direct, high-intensity confrontation unlike anything seen in decades. It began on June 13, 2025, when Iran, reeling from Operation Rising Lion, retaliated with an unprecedented barrage, over 150 ballistic missiles and 100-plus drones launched at Israeli cities and military targets. Air raid sirens howled across Tel Aviv and Haifa as Iron Dome batteries lit up the skies. Israel's response was swift and overwhelming. In mid-June, more than 50 fighter bombers took to the skies, hammering Iranian missile bases and nuclear enrichment facilities with precision strikes. By June 17th-18th, Iran escalated further, firing Fatah-1 hypersonic missiles, its most advanced weapons. Though most were intercepted, the message was clear. Iran was prepared to go the distance. The war has since entered a brutal rhythm, a 6-day cycle of mutual retaliation involving missiles, drones, sabotage, and surgical air raids. The toll is staggering. Iran has suffered over 585 deaths and 1,300 wounded, with civilian and military targets alike devastated. Israel has lost 24 lives, with hundreds injured, and cities partially crippled by infrastructure damage. Critical Iranian sites like Tisa Karaj and the Tehran Research Center lie in ruins, while Israel's Arrow interceptor stocks run low, forcing Washington to rush in missile defense reinforcements. U.S. involvement, a fading or growing role. As the Israel-Iran war intensifies, Washington's role is caught between rhetoric and restraint. Former President Trump, now a central figure in shaping U.S. foreign posture, has taken a hard-line stance, demanding Iran's, quote, unconditional surrender, and warning that Supreme Leader Khamenei is, quote, an easy target. His statements echo Israel's aggressive tone and signal moral backing, but the military posture remains carefully calculated. The U.S. has deployed additional aircraft, warships, and missile defense units to the region, with Trump reportedly holding situation room briefings on potential strike options. Yet crucially, there are no American boots on the ground, a clear indication that Washington is avoiding direct combat while still offering critical support. Intelligence sharing, logistical assistance, and emergency reinforcement of Israel's air defenses form the backbone of U.S. involvement. But Iran has issued stark warnings. Any direct intervention from Washington will lead to irreparable damage and could spark an all-out war. The line between involvement and escalation grows by the hour. Global ramifications. The Israel-Iran conflict is sending shockwaves across the globe, with economic and geopolitical consequences rapidly unfolding. Oil markets have surged in response to the crisis. WTI crude climbed to $73, while Brent hit $76.60, marking a 4-month high amid fears the Gulf energy supplies could be disrupted. Diplomatically, the alarm bells are ringing. Europe, China, and Russia have all issued urgent calls for de-escalation, while foreign nationals are being evacuated from volatile zones across the Middle East. On the battlefield, the war risks becoming a regional inferno. Yemen's Houthi rebels have already fired missiles toward Jerusalem, signaling the start of a proxy arc ignited by Iran. Hezbollah and Lebanon, heavily armed and Iranian-backed, is poised to strike, threatening a full multi-front war. Meanwhile, U.S. forces stationed in the Persian Gulf face mounting threats, with Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps hinting at potential retaliation against U.S. bases in Iraq or offshore naval assets, setting the stage for a broader confrontation. Is the U.S. losing control, and what's next? As the U.S. steps back from its traditional role in the Middle East, a dangerous power vacuum has emerged. Political hesitancy and strategic withdrawal have created space that Israel has swiftly filled, leading offensively, not defensively. Meanwhile, Russia expands its military footprint in Syria, and China solidifies its influence in Iran through Belt and Road infrastructure deals. The region is no longer unipolar. The normalization between Israel and Gulf states like the UAE and Bahrain under Tel Aviv's security umbrella has reshaped alliances and diluted Washington's grip. Now, with missiles flying and proxies mobilizing, the greatest risk looms. If the U.S. decides to intervene more directly, it may ignite a wider Middle East conflagration, one that even superpowers could struggle to contain. The Middle East is on fire, and America is no longer calling the shots. U.S. influence is fading, replaced by Israeli airstrikes, Mossad sabotage, and a direct war with Iran that's exploding beyond borders. This isn't proxy warfare anymore. It's a regional showdown with global consequences. Oil prices are surging, alliances are shifting, and the world edges closer to a wider conflict. The U.S. stands at a crossroads. Stay sidelined or step back into a war it can no longer control. The question isn't just what happens next, it's who will define the future of the region. Think Israel can go it alone? Or is this a disaster in the making? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. This story is far from over.